Alright, on your screens now you can see this image wherein an attacker opened fire near the White House in Washington DC, the capital of America that is, and 2 National Guard soldiers were killed in this firing, and police and security agencies have arrested the attacker, and the attacker has been identified as Afghan national Rahmanullah Lakmal. Let's take a dive into the specifics of this story and the suspect. Hello and welcome to another episode of Deep Dive brought to you by NewsX. My name is Vineet Malhotra. Let's now take a look at what exactly happened and who the suspect was who orchestrated the attack at the Farragut Square metro station. On 26th of November 2025, 2 West Virginia National Guard soldiers were shot during what officials described as a targeted ambush. A lone gunman reportedly walked up to 2 West Virginia National Guard soldiers who were on patrol and opened fire. He managed to shoot the 2 National Guard soldiers. Other National Guard members nearby heard the gunshots and immediately neutralized and subdued the shooter. The Department of Homeland Security identified the suspect as Rahmanullah Lakhanwal, an Afghan national who entered the United States under the 2021 Operation Allies Welcome resettlement program. He was wounded in the incident and taken into custody. The attack prompted immediate security responses in the capital and political calls to review Afghan admissions and vetting procedures. The 2 soldiers suffered critical injuries and were rushed to nearby hospitals. The suspect, named Rahmanullah Lakhanwal, is 29 years old, from battlefields in Afghanistan to a scenic home in the Pacific Northwest. He had followed a promising path before Wednesday. Lakhanwal, 29, drove across the country from his home in the state of Washington, said Jeanine Pirro, U.S. Attorney for Washington, D.C. He lived in Bellingham, a coastal city near Canada's border. He entered the U.S. in 2021 through Operation Allies Welcome, a Biden-era immigration program to resettle thousands of Afghans who helped the U.S. during the war and feared reprisal from Taliban forces who seized control after the U.S. withdrawal. More than 70,000 Afghans have been resettled in the U.S. under this program. CIA Director John Ratcliffe and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth have confirmed that he worked with U.S. partner forces in Afghanistan. According to the FBI Director Kash Patel, this is true. Pirro and Patel blamed the Biden administration for improperly vetting Lakhanwal, although they offered no evidence to support their assertion. Armed with a powerful handgun, a .357 Magnum, he shot 1 guardsman who fell and then shot them again before firing multiple times at the 2nd guard. Lakhanwal was wounded in an exchange of gunfire with other guardsmen before he was arrested and taken to hospital, where he remains under heavy guard. Pirro said that Lakhanwal faces 3 counts of assault with intent to kill while armed and a charge of possession of a firearm during a crime of violence. He will also be charged with murder in the 1st degree if the guardsmen, who are currently in critical condition, do not survive their injuries. U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi said that the U.S. government plans to bring terrorism charges against Lakhanwal and seek a sentence of life in prison as a minimum sentence. And according to a federal law enforcement dossier, Lakhanwal applied for asylum in December 2024 and was approved on April 23, 3 months after Trump took office. Lakhanwal had no known criminal history. He had no documented records of traveling in or out of the U.S. Since his arrival in 2021, he had imported a shipment of household goods from Afghanistan in February. And after working through 26 November, investigators seized cell phones, laptops, iPads, and other electronic devices from his house in Washington state. The suspect's injuries are not believed to be life-threatening. Officials say Lakhanwal entered the United States in 2021 through Operation Allies Welcome, a program that evacuated tens of thousands of Afghans after the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan. 76,000 people took advantage of the scheme, and supporters say that the initiative protected people at risk of Taliban reprisals, while critics said that this is a process which is not going to work. Before coming to the U.S., Lakhanwal worked with the American government, including the CIA, as a member of the partner force in Kandahar. And originally from Khost province, and had worked in a special Afghan army and its unit known as Zero Units, which were backed by the CIA and fought on the front lines. The cousin said Lakhanwal began as a security guard in 2012, later becoming a team leader and a GPS specialist. The victims of the November 26, 2025 targeted shooting near the White House were two members of the West Virginia National Guard ambushed while on high visibility patrol in Washington, D.C. The attack, which occurred near the corner of 17th and the one street just blocks away from the presidential residence, left the guardsmen critically injured in what officials describe as a deliberate assault. One of the victims, a U.S. Army specialist, Sarah Beckstrom, 20, from Summersville, West Virginia, succumbed to her injuries on the 27th of November after being shot at close range. Beckstrom was enlisted in June 2023 with the 863rd Military Police Company and volunteered for the Thanksgiving shift, aspiring to have a career in the FBI. The second victim, U.S. Air Force Sergeant Andrew Wolf, 24, from Martinsburg, West Virginia, remained in critical condition as of November 28th, fighting for his life while undergoing treatment at a local hospital. Both Beckstrom and Wolf were part of a deployment of over 2,000 troops sent to the capital since August under President Trump's order for a crackdown on crime. Wolf joined in February 2019 with the 167th Airlift Wing Force Support Squadron. All right, let's talk about this with our guest. Joining us on the program is Ambassador Mahesh Sachdev, former diplomat. Ambassador Sachdev, sir, appreciate you taking out the time and speaking to us. So what do you make of what's happened over here? Of course, Trump has been quick to respond, saying that all people who belong to third world countries, which includes Afghanistan, will have to pay the price. And this is, of course, going to be a crackdown on immigration and also those immigrants who had nothing to do with this tragedy.
I think this pendulum has swung to multiple extremes at times in the last 4 or 5 years. To begin from the beginning, Doha Agreement was signed during the dying days of Trump 1 presidency, wherein Taliban were given kind of nod and wink to occupy Kabul, even though US government had invested hundreds of billions of dollars and manpower in support of a democratic Afghan regime over 2 decades of fighting. This happened after Trump 1 ended and Mr. Biden's presidency took over. And August 2021 is when all this unfolded with a very rapid speed. US was taken by huge surprise as Taliban government rolled in. We all recall the Kabul airport scenarios where Afghan refugees or potential refugees sitting on the wings of the American planes and falling from the sky. That was the kind of chaotic situation. And the said perpetrator of this incident was one of the 70,000 Afghans who supported American troops and were under threat of reprisals by Taliban, who were given asylum in the United States temporarily with the papers to be sort of streamlined later. Now that is one extreme. Another extreme is what is happening now with 19 countries, mostly arbitrarily chosen from the third world, all their nationals who are in the United States, mostly on legitimate visas and papers, are going to be re-scrutinized. There was also a report, not confirmed, that Mr. Trump has decided to freeze all third world visas, and so on and so forth. Now, the asylum request was approved by Mr. Trump's administration in April this year, as you have yourself said. And now the blame is being put on the predecessor's regime and his decisions, etc., etc. So it's a bit of a murky situation. Nobody is talking about how easily this Afghan person was able to get gun and travel from Pacific coast to Washington, presumably with a gun, uh, and use it. Now, also a factor is that President Trump himself took the credit of putting National Guards on the streets of Washington, D.C. in the name of fighting crime uh, in August. And he claimed that the crime has gone down to zero and people are able to come out and dine for the first time in so many years after the sundown. So you cannot have it both ways, but apparently some people are not against
Fair
trying
enough, sir.
it.
Fair enough,
And
sir.
the MAGA base is obviously invoked by once again an immigrant uh, behaving badly and has drawn disproportionate conclusions.
Absolutely
Thank
right,
you.
sir. This is a disproportionate conclusion, and this will have a bearing on a number of people who are also not at fault. Appreciate your time, sir, and your perspective. We've run out of time. We take a short break now. Be right back.